Good evening, everyone. We can give the rest a few minutes to join, then we can start the webinar. I think we can start. Good evening, everyone, once again. So just to acknowledge people from different time zones, I will say good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, depending on your time zone. Welcome to our fourth Twiga Tech webinar. I am so excited to be hosting the webinar and playing the role of a moderator. So just before we start, I'd like to give a few house rules. The first one would be, if at all you have any questions, type them on the chat and we will tackle them during the Q&A session. Only the speaker of the day and myself will be able to unmute and speak and have our videos on throughout the session. So I'm really looking forward to having an engaging session with all of you. So today's webinar, in honor of the Women's Month, we have an amazing lady who is an all-rounded product manager. She's going to take us through how Twiga builds internal products to achieve business goals. So I'd like to introduce her. And just to let you know about this amazing lady, she's called Stephanie Olundo. She is a product manager at Twiga and has been a greatest champion of products and how we use them in the business and across different product communities. She has 5 years of experience in product. She has a Master of Science in Industrial Engineering and is a domain expert in the supply chain and logistics. She also has managed e-commerce and fintech products. So this makes her an all-rounded product manager. She has led the development of quite a number of products, not a few, in Twiga. And the most notable one is the WMS, which is our warehouse management system that we are currently using in the business at our distribution center. So today she will be taking us through the topic of the day, which I already mentioned, and it's already on the screen, how Twiga builds internal products to achieve business goals. So I am so excited and looking forward to having an amazing session, an engaging conversation. And I know by the end of the session, you'll all leave here feeling enriched and having a lot of wealth in the product sector. So without further ado, I would like to welcome the speaker of the day. So please send me, help me wherever you are. You can just do a clap or a thumbs up just to welcome Stephanie Oludo to the session. Welcome, Stephanie. You can take it away.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you for such a beautiful introduction. I'm really excited. I'm mostly excited because this is our first product management Twiga Tech Talk, and I'm really excited to be speaking today. I would describe myself as someone who's extremely passionate about building the right products for the African market. And as Maureen has introduced me, Stephanie Oludo, and I'm a product manager at Twiga Foods. And throughout my time at Twiga, I have been able to work with really brilliant people to build really cool and interesting products. And I am excited and happy to share some of the learnings from my experience on working on internal products. Yeah, so let's get started. So my expectation is that by the end of the webinar, you, the audience, have a better understanding of what internal products are. You have a better understanding of the difference between internal and external product management. You also have a better understanding of product at Twiga, the responsibilities that lie within the product teams, how the product teams work with engineering teams and other business teams. And lastly, I will take you through how Twiga builds internal products to achieve business goals using the example of our Twiga WMS. So what really are internal products? I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, are familiar with our flagship product, Soko Yetu, that our customers use to place orders, make payments, access lending services, and other digital services. But I believe most of you are not so familiar with all the other products that work behind the scenes to make the delivery of these services to our end customers a success. So from whether they are user interfacing products like our Soko Call product, a Soko Call product is used by our call center agents internally to handle customer support issues, to access customer information, and handle customer support issues, for example, canceling orders or generating new orders. Or whether they are back-end heavy products like our financial platform that is used by various engineering teams who build on top of it and enable the organization to accept payments from our customers, for example, and also make payments outside of the organization to our suppliers, for example. So again, what really are internal products? An internal product is generally described as any solution or software product that is used internally by an organization. So this is whether built in-house or whether bought from a third-party provider and customized to the business processes. And typically, internal products are meant to support various business activities. And they're also typically not meant for sale. But we do have certain products that started out as internal products, but then came to be customer-facing products later on. A good example is Amazon Web Services by Amazon. So in the early 2000s, Amazon had issues meeting deadlines, and every time they had a new project, they'd have to start it from scratch. So they looked at the internal infrastructure and decided to build Amazon Web Services. So after a couple of years, 5-6 years, Amazon Web Services became a mature product, and it became such a great core competency for Amazon that they decided to sell it to customers and make it an external facing product. And now Amazon is a market leader in cloud computing services. So that's an example of how an internal product can become such a great core competency for a company and become an external facing product. There are various types of internal products that we can have human resource systems, which are internal facing products, for example, time and attendance tools or performance management tools. We also have financial management systems that help manage finances of an organization, and supply chain and logistics systems that are used by supply chain and operations team. For example, our warehouse management system or logistics management system. We also have customer management systems, right? Like SoCo that I've mentioned, and enterprise resource planning systems that help organizations run their entire business. We also have business intelligence tools that help an organization to collect and process data. And we also have content management systems that help organizations create and manage their content. So these are just a few examples of internal products. So there's usually conversations around external facing products when it comes to product management. However, internal product management is not really talked about, or there are not a lot of conversations that revolve around internal product management. So what is the difference between external facing, call it the traditional type of product management, and internal facing product management? First, we look at the reach. By reach, I mean how many customers are you building a product for, or how many customers are you iterating or improving a product for? With external facing products, the reach usually depends on how successful your global reach is or your go-to-market strategy is. So it can be regional, it can be global. But with internal facing products, the reach is really limited to your company's investment, mainly in human resource. So your users will probably be a set number of users. And in case your company wants to invest more in human resources and grow this number of users, that's when your reach really grows. Another thing we look at is who are your users. With external facing products, your users are mainly customers outside the organization. But with internal facing products, they're employees within the organization. And sometimes you can be a producer of a product. You can build a product and be the user of the product at the same time. A good example is a company's website. A team could be tasked with building a company's website, and they'll end up being the users of this company website as well. Another thing we look at is drive. So with external facing products, they're market driven. They're driven by market needs, by customer needs. But with internal facing products, they're driven by business needs. So they're business driven. And lastly, the difference we can look at is metrics. So metrics look a little bit different in internal facing products than in external facing products. With external facing products, we look at metrics like the adoption rate. So our users really using our product, or our customers really using our products. Is our product solving a need? Another metric with external facing products is revenue. So a business can look at revenue when looking at customer facing products. So our customers really using our product. Is this product generating revenue? Another metric you can look at with external facing products is engagement. So how engaging is our product to our users? But with internal facing products, we look at metrics like efficiency and productivity of our employees. We look at cost savings. We look at employee satisfaction. And I personally like to look at minimal training as well. So is the product I'm building or that I've built, does it require a lot of training, or does it require training over and over again? Or is it intuitive? Is it easy to train? Our users really grasping and understanding how the product works and how it's it's being used. As much as we have differences with external facing product management and internal facing product management, they both have the same goal, and that goal is to create value. So now that we have a better idea of what internal products are and the types of internal products, why are internal products important? One, internal products are important because they are the core of the business. They're the heart of the business, and they directly affect the business and business processes. Two is that bad internal products can become customer-facing problems. With the example of Soko Call, imagine a situation whereby our call center agents are not able to access customer information. They're not able to attend to customer support issues on time. This will result into frustrated customers, which will probably increase churn rate. And increasing churn rate means that we're losing customers. So with that example, we can see that bad internal products can become customer-facing problems. Third is that good internal products can help achieve great things for customers. A good example is our warehouse management system. Our warehouse management system helps make deliveries on time to our customers. This in turn results into happy customers, right? So with that example, we can see that good internal products can help achieve great things for our customers. And last is that great internal products can become customer-facing products. With the example I gave with Amazon's AWS, it started out as an internal product, but it became such a great core competency for Amazon that they decided to leverage on it and make it an external facing product and add another revenue stream for the business. And now Amazon is a market leader in cloud computing. So that is a really good example that great internal products can become customer-facing products. So now that we know why internal products are important and we have a good grasp of what internal products are, I'd just like to take you through what product at Twiga is like, how product at Twiga is structured, the responsibilities that lie within our product teams, and how product teams work with other business teams and engineering teams as well to make internal products a success. So product at Twiga is organized by function. We have the user experience research function that lies within product teams. We have the product design function, and we have the product management function as well. So within these product teams that have these three functions, the responsibility of these teams is one of the responsibilities of these teams is to set the product vision. What I mean by product vision is what we hope our product to achieve long term. And the team is also responsible for setting the product strategy, which includes road mapping. We like to roadmap based on objectives and key results. So those are OKR roadmaps. That's what works for our teams. And product teams are also responsible for product discovery. What I mean by product discovery is the process of really understanding user problems and finding the best solution to solve this problem, the best way to solve these problems. The product teams are also responsible for product design, which is basically creating and iterating your product. And they're also responsible for product execution. So product execution is mainly the day-to-day of building a product. So collaborating with other business teams, collaborating with engineering. And the product teams also assist the engineering teams as well as the product engagement team to deliver these products to our customers. So we understand the responsibilities that lie within product teams, but product teams are not only organized per function, they're also organized per mission. And what I mean by mission is, okay, for example, we have the commercial team. These teams are usually cross-functional, so we include engineering in these teams. Engineering is included in these teams. So for example, we have the commercial team who have a commercial mission. And by commercial mission, I mean they enable the business to sell. And the commercial team is in charge of Soko Yetu that I mentioned at the beginning, which is our ordering application. And they're also in charge of Soko Call, which is an internal tool used by our call center agents that I mentioned at the beginning as well. So the beauty of product at Twiga is that product teams get to work on both internal facing and external facing products. We get to see the differences and understand what works when working on internal facing products and when working on external facing products. We also have the supply chain team, whose mission is to make supply chain and logistics operations processes as seamless and as efficient as possible. Right? An external facing product that is under the supply chain team is Sokolytics, which is used by our suppliers to view their product performance. And an internal tool that is under the supply chain team is our routing software that enables efficient deliveries through planned routes. We also have digital and financial services team, which is tasked with the monetization mission. They help the business generate revenue, make money for the business. We also have a business operations team. It's not pictured here, but the business operations team help business teams make their business processes as efficient as possible. So we have business teams like human resource or a finance team. So they help this team automate their manual processes and make their processes as efficient as possible. So product teams at Twiga are essentially organized on two axes. We have the functional axis, so per function, and then we have per mission. And I cannot speak about internal products at Twiga without speaking about the product engagement team. The product engagement team is, like I mentioned, their responsibility is to deliver products to the end customer. So they're really, really instrumental in delivering products to our end customers, both internal facing products as well as external facing products. But I'll mainly speak about the internal facing context. So what does this product engagement team do at Twiga? One, they're responsible for training users. So when we roll out a product, for example, this team trains our users on how to use the product that we've rolled out. And they do not only train users during rollout of products, but they also train new employees who are onboarded onto Twiga and who require our internal products to perform their daily tasks and activities. This team is also responsible for technical support. So whenever our internal users have a challenge with our internal products, the go-to people are the product engagement team. They're able to listen to customer support issues, understand their requests and whether they're bugs or feature requests. This team is also responsible for stakeholder engagement because they're so close to the users. During training, for example, they're able to collect training feedback and share this with the product and engineering team. And this information helps the product and engineering team iterate their products, right? So they're responsible for communicating such feedback to the product and engineering team, and they're also responsible to communicating to our stakeholders whenever a feature has been released or a feature is about to be released or a product is about to be released. So they're the point of communication for the product and engineering teams. So yeah, that's basically what the product engagement team at Twiga does. So now that we have an understanding of how product at Twiga works and how product teams work with the engineering teams and business teams and the product engagement team, I will take you through 5 things that are really important mindsets when building internal products and that enabled us to build Twiga WMS and achieve business goals. But first, I'd just like to give the audience an understanding of what Twiga WMS is and what it does. So Twiga Warehouse Management System is a software product that is used by a warehouse team to manage and control daily operations at our warehouse, our distribution center at Touch City. And it helps or enables the warehouse team to have visibility on inventory. So whenever we receive products from our suppliers and we send out products to our customers. So what Twiga WMS does, it enables the warehouse team to receive products. It enables the warehouse team to place products onto storage locations. It also enables the warehouse team to locate these products based on whatever needs they have in the warehouse. With Twiga WMS, the team is also able to pick those products from storage locations and load them onto delivery trucks, and then send them out, dispatch them to our end customers. Twiga WMS is also able to manage returns. So for whatever reason, if we have returns coming back into the warehouse, this warehouse management system enables the warehouse team to efficiently handle returns. And it also enables the team to count the stock that is in the warehouse. So in a nutshell, this is what our Twiga WMS does for the warehouse team. So we have an understanding of what Twiga WMS is and what it does. Like I said, I'll cover 5 things that are important mindsets when building internal products and that really helped the product teams along with the engineering teams to stay on track when building Twiga WMS and to make Twiga WMS the success that it currently is and enable it to achieve the goals that the business had set. So first is creating a competitive advantage with internal products. There's a misconception that internal products do not require the same focus and attention as revenue-generating consumer-facing products. And the challenge that comes from this misconception is that sometimes in some organizations, internal product teams are not always as well resourced as customer-facing product teams, right? But at Twiga, we steer clear from this mindset. For us, internal products are as equally important as external-facing products. So how else can we create a competitive advantage with internal products? The first tip is to build what differentiates you. I'll give you a backstory of how Twiga WMS came to be. So when Twiga was founded in 2014 and started its operations then in 2014, 2015, we sold only one type of product, and that was bananas. So at the time, the technology team built our first product, which was the Twiga data management system. And what the Twiga data management system did is that the warehouse team were able to key in the information on the bananas that we received from our farmers at the warehouse, and they're able to key in whenever we made a sale, when we were sending out the bananas to our end customers. At that time, the data management system was very efficient for the team because it was one product. But over the years, Twiga grew exponentially, and we moved from selling one type of product to hundreds to thousands of products. And this data management system was no longer as efficient as it was in the beginning. So that's when we saw a need to come up with a solution. And that solution was a warehouse management system. And of course, we faced the build versus buy dilemma. So typically, what most organizations do is that they buy off-the-shelf warehouse management systems, mainly because it's really complex to build a warehouse management system internally. And we have experts in the field that have done this for years, have built warehouse management systems for years. So of course, that was our first option, our go-to option. Started the process of sourcing for warehouse management system, getting the right fit. But we realized that sourcing one that would be the best fit for Twiga would take quite some time. So that when we embarked on the journey to build essential warehouse management systems as an interim solution. So when we started building Twiga WMS, we realized that the team really understands Twiga supply chain operations and can build something that really aligns to specific Twiga supply chain context and aligned to our business processes. So that's when we decided to go ahead and build a fully fledged Twiga warehouse management system. And this was a good approach to take because one of the competencies, or the main competency of Twiga, is that our core competency is supply chain and logistics. So building something within supply chain and logistics operations would set us apart from our competitors. We are able to really build something that aligns to our processes, and our competitors will probably take off-the-shelf warehouse management systems. So we realized we can create a competitive advantage by doing this. The other tip is that you can create great impact with something very simple. An example, when it comes to our warehouse management system, is that we added visual cues on our warehouse management system. So what the visual cues help the warehouse team with is reducing errors. So whenever the warehouse team intakes products from suppliers, sometimes fast-moving consumer products can look alike, and that process is really prone to error. You can attach a stock name to a different product. So this visual cue helped us reduce errors, and it's something that a lot of off-the-shelf warehouse management systems do not have. So that's how you can create a competitive advantage with internal products. 2 is internal product discovery. So like I mentioned, product discovery is the process that helps product teams refine their ideas by deeply understanding user problems, real user problems, and finding the best way to solve them. So the misconception with product discovery when it comes to internal products is that discovery is not as necessary with internal products as with external products. And this misconception usually comes about because you're working with products for internal users, and these internal users are really close to the problem area. So they come to you with a ready solution. They'll come to you and say, I want this button because this button will help me do this. Or I want this feature because this feature will help me do this. And most of the time, this removes the ability to do discovery because you can cave in and say, okay, so-and-so said they need this feature and they understand that they need it to do something or to achieve a goal in their day-to-day task, and you can cave and just build that for them. This is a misconception. You need to define the problem first before implementing a solution that an internal user has come to you with. So one of the things that helped us when building Twiga WMS is that we involved the engineering manager, the tech lead, in product discovery. So we would constantly invite our engineering manager to discovery sessions. And when we would toss around possible solutions to problems, he would give his input based on technical constraints. He'd say, okay, this might not be feasible right now. Maybe let's take a different route. And this enabled us to reduce development lead times significantly. It enabled us to ship things faster. So at the very least, involve your engineering manager in product discovery sessions. 2 is that we leveraged on the fact that users are very accessible, right? You're dealing with your employees assume with internal users. So meet your users in the environment. Your users are only a Slack away, they're a Teams call away, they're an email away. It's not like external facing products. It's really hard to talk to your users with external facing products. But with internal facing products, it's really easy to get a hold of your users and talk to them. So we leveraged on that fact, and we met our users in their environment and spoke to our users, saw how they interacted with our product. And another thing that we did, we took advantage of the fact that users are accessible by refining our user research skills, right? So because our users are very easily accessible, we can sort of try different research methods and see which one works for different types of users. So it really helped us refine our research skills. Third is that we worked with our users or stakeholders to define the problem. So whenever a user or a stakeholder will come to us and say, I need this feature, we sit down with them and work to define the problem. So why do you think you need this feature? What problem are you trying to solve with this feature? And sometimes a solution cannot result into a feature, but can result into a change in process. For example, for me as a product manager, my goal is to solve problems for my customers, and solving problems for my customers might not always result in my team and I building a feature, but it might look something a little bit different, like working with them to change a process or redefine a process. So it's really important to sit down and work with your users to define the problem. Third is managing multiple stakeholders. So the challenge with internal products is that you may be dealing with multiple stakeholders with competing interests and competing priorities. And this usually comes about with endless requests. And the problem with this is that it can result into a feature factory. What I mean by a feature factory is that you accept the ready solutions, for example, that I mentioned. You accept these features, you build them, you ship them, and that's your measure of success. So it can remove you from an outcome-driven mindset and put you into an output-driven mindset, which is not beneficial to your users and your stakeholders or to your product and your engineering team as well. So how do we deal with multiple stakeholders with competing interests and endless requests, which can be overwhelming? And how do we avoid the feature factory trap? First is that you need to understand the different types of stakeholders you have. And I like to use the stakeholder map. So I like to understand who are my high interest stakeholders, who are my low interest stakeholders. By high interest stakeholders, I mean, there are stakeholders who are invested in the success of your product as much as you are. And these ones are usually the managers of your users. An example is this. So with our warehouse management system, let's say we have the dispatch team, the team that sends out products from the warehouse. The dispatch team, we have people, the warehouse staff that pick products from storage locations and load them onto our delivery trucks. They're the ones who interact with our warehouse management system, our product on a daily basis. And we also have their managers, right, who sort of organizes the team and makes sure that the team works as efficiently as possible. So these managers are our high interest, high power stakeholders. And once we understand that, we're able to manage them closely and have a good working relationship with them, which is really essential when building internal products. And then we also have our high interest stakeholders, but low influence, low power stakeholders. This are now the users, the ones really interacting with our product. So with this ones, we try and make sure that they're informed whenever we have a feature release or whenever we've worked on a bug, right? And then we have our low interest stakeholders. An example of a low interest stakeholder, high power stakeholder, low interest, high power stakeholder is our CEO. He's not really involved in our day-to-day activities, but our CTO kept him informed in the workings of the warehouse management system or the product development process, right? So that's what I mean by low interest, high power stakeholders. And for them, you need to keep them informed and keep them satisfied. Another tip is build social capital. So this is something my team and I really tried to do. It sounds so simple, but with human beings tend to trust people they are familiar with, people they have some sort of relationship with. So we try as much as possible to have good working relationships with our stakeholders. And what we do is we try and find a representative in each team would be our go-to person, right? So the more our stakeholders trust us, the more they trust that we are taking their interest into account, we have their best interest at heart, and we're working hard to achieve whatever they need. The other tip when managing multiple stakeholders is that co-create with your stakeholders. This is something my team and I did. So we would invite our stakeholders to design sessions. And we did this because our stakeholders are domain experts. They might see something that we missed during the discovery process and that we didn't take into account when designing our product or a feature. So it's really important to have them there and make sure that we haven't missed anything or sent something to engineering that will have to be iterated or might not even be used. So it's really important to co-create with your stakeholders, and it really helped us during the build of WMS. And lastly, use data to inform decisions. So whenever you have this endless feature request, and your stakeholders or your users coming to you with ready solutions, you need to look at the data and make decisions based on that, so that when you inevitably have to say not now to your stakeholder because there are more pressing problems you're trying to solve, you have data to back it up objectively. So it's really important to use data to inform decisions when managing multiple stakeholders. Third is linking internal product execution to business goals. So the challenge that usually comes with this is that linking internal product execution to overall business impact can be quite difficult. It's not like external facing products whereby maybe a change in your product can impact revenue in some sort of way. With internal products, it's a little bit difficult to really link your outcomes to overall business impact. So what we did to link product execution to business goals is we used this framework. We cascaded down company mission to business goals to the business KPIs, right? For example, with a warehouse management system, one of the business goals is to improve operational efficiency from the data management system to the warehouse management system, right? And one of the business KPIs would be something like on-time dispatch, sending out our products to our end customers on time is a business KPI. So business goals and business KPIs are usually the basis of the product vision. And then we have now product objectives and our key results. So for us, we set our product objectives in a short-term way instead of a long-term 3-year roadmap way, because the organization, the business is still experimenting with different revenue streams. So it doesn't make sense to come up with long-term roadmaps. What makes sense for us right now is to come up with short-term roadmaps. So we come up with short-term OKR roadmaps, which are objective and key results roadmaps. And that's usually what's the basis for our discovery and our execution, and it results into our product capabilities. And this method can be used for prioritization. So whenever you have overwhelming and endless feature requests, this method can really help you stay on track when it comes to that. It really help you to set your priorities right by aligning whatever you need to do to the overall business goals and your business unit KPIs. Also, when linking internal product execution to business goals, you need to decide your key performance indicators with your stakeholders so that you create aligned measures of success. With internal products, because your goals are really a result of your business goals or the goals of different business teams. So you need to decide your key performance indicators with stakeholders so that you're on the same page when it comes to the outcomes, the desired outcomes that you guys are looking for. The other one is staying mindful of usability and user experience. So the misconception with internal products is that users have no choice but to use internal products you build. And this can create the captive user trap. Some product managers call it the captive user trap. So because these are internal users and they can be directed by their leadership to use the product, even if they don't want to, they're called captive users. And this is a misconception that brings about certain challenges, because your users can choose not to use your product. They can also choose to create workarounds. And those workarounds for us usually look like Excel sheets, right? I say this product is not working for us. Let's just put the information in an Excel sheet. And then they can also be clever and get your team to do their job for them. See, I don't understand how to do this task, so please do it for me. So yeah, so then how do you stay mindful of usability and user experience? The first tip for us is that we try and treat our internal users as paying customers. And because it's really easy to lose track of the of product fundamentals when that create a great product when you're building internal products. Sometimes your users might have a problem, an urgent problem, and adding another button to your screen can be the solution. So you end up with a screen with 3 primary buttons that goes against the principles of UX design, right? So treating your users as paying customers helps us stay on track when it comes to usability and user experience. Also, you shadow your users. We tried so hard and we made sure that engineering came along to see our users in the environment and shadow them and see how they interact with our product. This helps us stay empathetic and keep usability and user experience in mind. So there are many takeaways from this webinar, but I've summed them up to 3. The first one is building internal solutions is product management as well. Internal product discovery should be prioritized, and internal product management should be given the same focus and attention as external product management. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for joining the webinar. I'll now hand it over to Maureen to take any questions that the audience might have.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. That was very insightful. I can see some claps. People are celebrating you. We've learned quite a lot. I believe everyone has. If not, you picked something out of this conversation. So I'm looking at the chat section. I can't see any questions, but I'm hoping in the next 1 minute or so, people will type in. People will type in their questions so that you can respond to them. So there's one from Nicholas. He says, thank you very much for the presentation. How do you manage the competencies of your team, your product team?
That's a good question. So within the product team, there are different core competencies. We have UX research, we have we have a UX researcher within the product teams. We also have a product designer and we have a product associate. So we have user experience research, we have product design, and we have product management, mainly handled by the product associate. And then you have the product manager handling this. It's quite difficult to sort of juggle, but in a sense, it becomes a unit because you can't do design without research, and you can't do research without having your product associates sort of be there and collaborate with other business teams. So it can be difficult at first, but it becomes second nature because it's a process you're following and the team comes along with you. So I think that's how I can answer that question. Maureen, you're on mute.
Thank you. So Nicholas says thanks. So I believe you've answered the question well. The next one is from Kate. She says, thank you. That was a very brilliant and informative session. Well done, Stephanie. Then we have another one from Victor. Thank you for the great walkthrough. Any major notable blocker that you faced during development of internal facing products, particularly the WMS? I know you have a lot to share here.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, there's so many blockers that usually come about, right? But I can say the main blocker is that you're working with different business teams and your priorities are not their priorities. So aligning your priorities to to be their priorities or their priorities to be your priorities can be quite difficult. So whenever you need to set a meeting because you need to ship something fast and you need to have their input on it and they're not available or they're not able to give you this information at a certain point in time, it creates a blocker for the team, right? So it's just finding a way you can align your priorities to the priorities of the business teams that you're working with. And by that, I usually try and over communicate. So over communication is key, and just making sure that you guys have the same priorities at the same point in time, which can be quite difficult to do.
Right. Thank you for that. We'll go to the next question. How do you and your team balance between designing products that are asked by the business, those derived from user problems, and innovations that your team deem necessary? So how do you balance that? As you prepare to answer that, just a celebration from Victor for a great webinar, Steph.
Okay, balancing that can be quite difficult. Balancing the outcomes of product discovery and then balancing what the business needs you to build. What I try and do is assess the impact of the outcome of our product discovery and the outcome of what the business wants us to build. And if I feel that, or if I can see that the impact that will come from us solving what we discovered is greater from what the business wants us to build, I sort of communicate that to our head of product, and we have a discussion around how we can push back on this and implement what came up during a product discovery. So it's usually more of a conversation with our head of product and figuring what's the best way to do that.
Yeah, thank you. And the next one is how possible, from Brian, how possible it is to customize off-the-shelf WMS systems than building everything from scratch.
Wait, sorry, Maureen, please ask the question again.
Okay. How possible is it to customize off-the-shelf WMS systems than building everything from scratch?
Okay, yeah, customizing off-the-shelf warehouse management systems is actually a little bit easier than building internally, and that's because these off-the-shelf warehouse management systems are built by experts in their field, right? And with us, we have a team who probably have not interacted with a warehouse management system before, and now navigating and having them learn how warehouse management systems work and then having them build it can be quite difficult. So it's actually easier to customize off-the-shelf warehouse management systems than to build internally.
Yeah, thank you for that. Another celebration, very informative webinar. I have taken notes, especially on stakeholder creating. Thank you, Steph. Well done. I think I'll take this as the final one. Michael asks, hi, when will the WMS slide stop being a late version?
I can tell this is an internal employee. So Michael, WMS slide stopped being a light version months ago when we decided to build a fully fledged warehouse management system. So it's now Twiga Warehouse Management System, Twiga WMS, and it's no longer WMS Lite.
Thank you. Yeah. So the rest are people saying thank you. That's Kate for the question you answered. Then there's Eric saying, fantastic presentation, well done. A lot of celebration claps coming through for you. Then there's Rebecca also saying the same, great presentation. And we have Lewis. Lewis says, great presentation, Stephanie. Easy to follow and super informative. Might there be a link to download the presentation doc? Thank you.
Lois, thank you for your question. So the webinar is recorded and will be posted on YouTube on the Twiga channel. So you can always go back and refer to the recording there. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it. It's a wrap. Well done, Stephanie. That was amazing. And we can tell, even from the comments that are coming through, both from our guests and also our internal staff. So that was really amazing. It was insightful, and thank you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the presentation. So to everyone who managed to join and spend some time with us, we are very grateful. We hope to see you more. We'll keep having these webinars on a monthly basis. Check out for the communication from your friends, from LinkedIn profile. We usually distribute this. So if you get and you enjoyed this session, please share, invite somebody, come, let's learn together. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, we guys do have a lovely evening. The link to the webinar will be shared. And like Stephanie said, you can access it through our YouTube channel. Have a lovely evening. You can leave at your own pleasure. And as you leave, just leave a clap once more again to appreciate the speaker of this day. Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie. Bye.